Welcome back to another episode of Sparkle on Substack with me, Claire Venus. It is a sunny June day, apart from we're just missing the sun in Northumberland, and I'm speaking to my pal Suzy, who just lives down the road, actually. So that's really lovely for me. So Suzy and I know each other in real life and also in virtual life on Substack. She runs a brilliant Substack called Heartleap, and we're going to hear more about Suzy's decision to come onto Substack and what prompted that decision and how it's all been going in today's episode. Hi, Suzy.
Hello, hello. Lovely to see you.
It's so nice to see you. I'm just saying Northumberland isn't quite summer yet, is it? Well, it's
Uh,
nice, it's light, it's bright, but
There
yeah,
were
we're just getting
storms
settled in.
yesterday. What are you talking about?
I know, I know. So we're recorded in summertime and it'll be out a little while later. But are you still working quite a lot? Are you, behind the scenes working away, or are you out a bit more on the beach with the dog? Like, how's life feeling and life looking at the moment?
Well, I'm definitely living a very freelance life, which is
Mm.
amazing. I've started again in Northumberland, so I've left London and the big smoke to live up in Northumberland, and I'm loving it. It's so amazing, and I'm kind of building it, so almost like brick by brick to see what works, what doesn't work. So I am a journalist by trade. I was the editor at Psychologies, and so now I'm freelancing with some of my journalism for various different newspapers and magazines. I've just started working in the Accidental Bookshop for 2 days a week. So because that helps with me run the Annex Story Fest, which is a kind of a book and story festival that happens once a year. So it really helps to find out what's happening. I'm also trying to write a book. So that's really good. And then, of course, I run my Heartleap Substack, which is my new universe, which I'm so passionate about. So yeah, I'm working and I am about out and about on the beach. I mean, I love my work so much. I have to be careful that I don't I just realized that I work quite a lot still, but just because I love it so much and I enjoy it so much, and there's a lot going on, and I love growing and I love learning new things. So Substack is it can be slightly overwhelming because there's like so much to learn and so much to do and so many people to meet that it becomes slightly overwhelming at times. But I think I'm just in a really brilliant phase of my life. My son's just gone to university. So I know for you, Claire, you've still got the little ones and that juggle is quite difficult at times. I know I've been there. But with my son going off to university, I've suddenly got this huge amount of energy and expansive time that I used to put into parenting that has now been freed up. So yeah, it's an interesting space for me right now.
Yeah, and it sounds like a really beautiful balance in terms of lots of creative fire and creative fuel for you to do your own work, but also host community. And then you've got that festival energy as well, and that kind of being in the heart of a community, working in the local bookshop. It just sounds like there's so many pieces that fit together and make for a really full, rich life. I know I'm romanticizing it here, Susie, because it's not always like that, is it? But it does sound a very vibrant and balanced lifestyle you've got.
Yeah, so I've gone from working sort of 6 days a week, in a very, very busy environment in London to coming to Northumberland, which and almost like creating a life that kind of works for me. So it just feels like a real opportunity, a real, I don't know, a moment in my life that when do we ever have that chance, when we're in our 20s, we're completely skint, and you're I got married very early, and trying to make all of that work. 30s and 40s, you're sort of flat out, and then so in your 50s, I'm 56 now, it feels like there's a whole new opportunity to reinvent yourself and start again and do it how you want to do. But I mean, the issue with that is it is creative, but it is about like, well, what do you want to create? And that can be quite kind of, oh, I don't know. When you're given all the freedom, all of a sudden you're like, oh, I don't know. What if that's not right? So, yeah.
I hear you. I hear you. And then those moments, and you speak about them so eloquently in terms of the heart leap moment. So, this is what I'm going to do. And it does feel like a leap, but it feels like one that I'm prepared to take. I know that it took you a little while to come to Substack. I know I was like, Susie, I really think you'd love Substack. I can really see you on there. Like, give it a go. What do you think? Da, da, da. And it's not like you were tech shy, like you used tech really well. It was just like, not quite yet, like it's not quite time. But then when it was, you were all in. You were like, I love this platform. You were so right. This is brilliant. And it just was like waiting for that moment to leap. I'd love to hear more about how that was, like what you'd heard from about Substack before, if there was resistance, where was it coming from, if you don't mind talking about it, and then when you did start one, how that all felt. So a little bit of storytelling about that would be so good.
Well, I remember you telling me about it. The first time I ever met you, we met in your teepee at the end of your garden, and I was trying to talk to you about the Alex Story Fest before it was even formed. So I was trying to create this new festival in Northumberland. And you were like, "Yeah, do this, do this," and then you talked to me about Substack, and I was like, "Wow, that sounds amazing!" But I just thought I can't take that on. But I was doing Twitter, I was doing Instagram, I was doing, and I just thought I'm too overwhelmed. And that it took me a year after you said that to kind of go, hang on a minute here, Substack, yeah. And then when I realized what it was, I was just like, oh my God, this is it. This is what I've been waiting for, which is kind of, you can build your own magazine, you can literally you can build your own creative universe on Substack. And it's such a beautiful environment. I mean, everyone's friendly and kind and amazing writers and beginner writers, and we're all in it together, and it's like heaven. It's like this. And also you can earn money from it, so I'm now earning about, I don't know, 500, 600, 700 pounds a month doing it. I can't believe it. I mean, I can't believe it. And then now it's a massive part of my plan of, it's part of my financial plan of what I want to do with my career and my life and my retirement. Do you know what I mean? And I mean, I hope I will never retire. But with Substack, I can just create this beautiful universe that is what I want to say, because I'm still freelancing for the Nationals as well to earn money, and it comes, I'm writing for different national newspapers, and obviously they come with a political bent, be it the Guardian or the Telegraph, and I work for both. They both have a political stance, and I sometimes it feels really uncomfortable for me because it's not my political, arena. But at the same time, I always believe I'm mostly writing about health and mental health, so you know it's sometimes good not to preach to the converted. That's how I justify it to myself. However, with Substack, it is your own universe where you can just put out what you want to put out, and that is extraordinary. That kind of freedom to be able to do that.
Yeah, it does feel very freeing, doesn't it? And I think, sometimes when I'm trying to speak to somebody about it and they haven't heard about it, it's finding the right thread to pull on, because saying to people, you might have been creating on social media, you might have trying to been sharing your work, your projects, your behind the scenes, your personal brand, like whatever you want to call it, your business on social media for 10 years or longer. And now you've put all of that time and investment in, and a lot of that is hidden from your audience. And on Substack, it's not that. You get to email all of your audience, and if they want to open that email, they do, but also they get to hang out on the Substack app or on the Substack website and feel part of something, like you say, a universe. It's just a very, very different vibe. And sometimes that lands with people. Other times it's like, no, I don't know, because then, well, they own it all. It's like, no, you own the email subscribers. Like, you own your list. If you wanted to put them into another email platform, you could. If you wanted to email them from somewhere else, you could. It's a completely new engine for culture, and that's Substack's terminology. And I think sometimes people are so used to how things have been, the new evolution of tech and community and communication just takes a while, doesn't it, to land, and for people to realize, oh, this is actually a really good thing. When we've got time, we can hop on and learn the platform.
I mean, for us, we lived or died our magazine. So I ran a magazine called Psychologies for 8 years, and we sort of lived or died by our subscribers. So we needed that kind of solid base coming in every month. So, that list was all important, keeping the kind of list of subscribers, keeping them happy, working with them, giving them all that. So I totally got it when you said to me that it's your list. I was like, what? Hang on. And that was the thing that excited me the most, that list belonged to you, not some sort of social media giant. And as you say, that meant that you had control and you could build a real relationship, like I did at Psychologies, with that list. And and in terms of, I'm a raving entrepreneur, and I have to kind of curtail myself sometimes, but it's that piece about if you have a list, you have a business. Do you know what I mean? That, you know, that list you can build a brand from. You can do all sorts. I don't know if you can see, I've got a necklace on, my Heart Leap necklace. So someone has bought me a necklace like this, and I thought, oh my God, I can create my own necklaces. So I've just started my first ever brand thing, which is like Heart Leap necklaces. Because if people are part of my community, they might want to what, you know what I mean? It's like, so I mean, that's just a mad idea. But you can have my ideas, and then you can test them, and you can see if your community wants them and likes them. And it's just, that is such an exciting place to be. It's not just about writing, it's also about a business. You're building a brand, you're building a business, and you're building a community of people that might want to buy things from you, as well
Yeah.
as interact with you, and as well as being inspired by you. And it's wonderful. It's such a brilliant, cool place to be.
Such a cool place to be. And as well as all of that, people sharing your work, you know. So the reason that I have grown and solely within the Substack network to over 8,000 subscribers is because people share my work on Substack and off Substack. And it's just so brilliant. I'm just like, oh wow, like, you know, I'm not waiting for a reel to go viral. I'm not hoping for a press release to land, you know, I'm just doing the work every day within the Substack network, and people are finding it from all over the world and sharing it in all different time zones, and it's working. And I think I'd love to circle back, and we will do, but I think you know, I'd love to know more about that with you, you know, in terms of that growth over the last year, because I think it's been just a year, hasn't it? So we'll get into that. But I do want to say I'm so excited for the merch, the Heart Leap merch. I'll be buying one, Suzy. In fact, I probably buy about 3 normally when I see something that a friend's made or a colleague's made. I buy 3 just to be supportive, and then I've always got gifts in. So I'll be like straight on there with the merch. I love the merch idea. It's so
But
good.
it's just, I mean, isn't that creative?
Yeah,
So,
and
you know,
it's
being
been a
able to pick stuff
catalyst. You've thought, yeah, great,
up.
let's give it a
So
go.
it's a container. So Heartleap and Substack can be your container
Mm.
for you to be creative, be it products, be it. Oh, it's just so exciting. The it's just the beginning of something. So anybody who starts a Substack, it's the beginning. I mean, and just going back to what you've just said about, you know, your 8,000 followers. The reason what I've watched you and succeed and flourish, and what is so heartening is that you're such a generous, beaming light out there, that you can succeed in this world because you are you kind of beam out love on the Substack thing, the Substack network, which is just, it's so lovely. Because often in business, all that, it can be a bit icky, can't it? Sometimes, you know, all the sales funnels and all the this and all that. And I've done that at Psychologies. We had to do lots of hard marketing and stuff, and I found it really ick. Whereas what I see you doing and your natural growth that you're doing on your Substack doesn't feel ick at all. It just feels like a natural, as you talked about it, evolution, and natural growth. And people
Mm.
want to listen to you because you're talking about slow growth, and you're talking about actually creating genuine connection, rather than, you know, bombs on seats.
Yeah, thank you. And I love that. I think that joyful, sustainable growth like motto that underpins all of my work has been a really important revelation, because of the slow lived life that we've chosen here in Northumberland. And by that, it's like we're not in a rush, but sometimes I like to be vibrant. You know, I've enjoyed going to London recently and plugging into like a different kind of lifestyle, but definitely where I was when I first started it, I was like, this has got to work. Like, this has to work for me. And the only way that I can make it work is in a way where it all feels joyful and it all feels sustainable. I can't be in these kind of launch cycles or like mad pressured funnels, like you said. I think, you know, we've got wise to that as consumers. I don't know if anybody, yourself, Suzy, or anyone listening, if you've been sold to and then you sort of question, how's that happened? Like, I've bought this and I really don't know what, you know, like there's lots of different tactics, isn't there, with sales, and lots of them work. And then the pressure of that is to find the next right thing or do more, or, you know, just, you know, burn people down until they buy something. And it's really exhausting as a consumer. But also if you were just heading up your newsletter subscription business in that way, that would be very, very tiring. And it would also be very deflating, because people don't, people don't stay around forever, and certainly not in a Substack education space. My hope is that they feel educated within 8 months to a year and they want to move on. And anybody that wants to stay for the community for longer, that's great. So it is interesting in this subscription business model. Well, what is sustainability if not everybody is going to stay forever? So it's for me, it feels playful. It feels like, okay, well, let's see what happens with it all. Um, I was going to circle back to ask you about the vision for Heartleap, because from my point of view, when you did arrive with the Heartleap Substack, it was very clear. It was very upfront, and it was very easy to understand what it is that you were setting out from the off. And I work with a lot of people who were trying to sort of, oh, well, I'll just start and then maybe will I turn on paid, but what will be behind the paywall and how will I do it? Or maybe I'll wait for a year and then I'll turn the paywall on. So for you, it just felt different to that. It was like, here's the vision. Here's it all articulated. Let's go. And was it like that? Like, that's how I read it. And
No,
obviously I've
not
been
at
in
all.
Heartleap. Okay.
No, totally the opposite of that. And almost what I've realized is, so I thought I was starting a kind of psychologies type portal, which was kind of mental health, blossoming, psychology, those kind of things to make people feel good. And what the Heartleap has turned out is almost like a writers community, as I write my book, and and starting again. So it's for kind of midlife women who are starting again, who are trying to build their life again, who are writers. So that's what my Heartleap is about. It's like live a life that makes your heart leap, and that's the community I'm building. And that's not really what I set it out to be much more magaziney, but now it's funny because my deputy at psychologies has just come to me with the idea of let's do something together and let's create. And I thought perfect, because then I can do the kind of, because I was at the airport recently, and no matter how I try and train myself to read novels, I'm so attracted to the self-development books. And I ended up going on the plane with 3 self-development books, and it's there for me. I mean, that kind of growth and transformation world, which I know, I've interviewed so many brilliant people in that world. It still attracts me, and I don't want to leave it behind. So I was thinking, wow. And so we're meeting just in a week's time to talk about creating this kind of self-development portal between us, which should be really good. But keeping my own Substack, which is all about kind of writers who want to live a simple, creative, happy life. Which is what I've building in Northumberland as well. And I'm loving it. And the opportunity for growth and to grow and to play with it without kind of having to remortgage the house or, sell the dog is always good, No one would have the dog.
It's good. You don't have to sell your dog, no, for sure. And I think, I know you think it has come, in just this like, it's morphed into something. I think, we've arrived, we're there in Heartleap, we're turning up week in, week out. We might come to a masterclass and be really inspired. I think from the outside looking in, you had that monthly setup, the monthly price setup and the annual price setup, and you had that, okay, that's going to cover 2 writing hours a week, and then there's going to be a monthly masterclass. And that was your formula. And at that time, people weren't really doing that. And it's still, even now, a year down the line, when I talk about hosting a membership and a community on Substack, people are like, oh, but I thought it was really about writers and paywalling like half an article. So the way that we're running our spaces is much more like space holding. Like, this is space holding for people. This is cheerleading for people. This is spending time together, doing some work. Like, and for me, it feels like showing up with my colleagues. My members feel like my colleagues. Like, that feels like a really beautiful thing, to be the space holder for those people. I don't know whether you resonate with some of that.
Yeah, well, totally. I think so. Community and connection is one of my highest values. So, I started the festival, so I'm coming into Northumberland. So it's like a blank slate. What am I going to do with the rest of my life? And it's like going back to kind of core values. And for me, community and connection are so important. So for me, it's not even a conversation to be had. It's just like, okay, that's what I'm going to do. And you call it space holding, but it's like, I do it for me. Do you know what I mean? It's like, come on, let's all get together and be creative together. So I do it in Heartleap and in Substack, but I also do it in the festival. We're kind of on a different kind of level with writers. So yeah, I mean, I think writing's great, but I think maybe there's quite a lot of introverts on Substack. But unfortunately, I'm a raving extrovert, so I'm like, I want people.
Yeah,
So
get all the people to come. And you know, as you know, I've made so many brilliant connections and met colleagues, and I have paid members that have come through your Substack. So for people that don't know, there are so many opportunities to collaborate with like-minded people who share the same values as you on Substack. And it's, again, like, collaboration is one of my highest values, because we learn more about our own creative practice and our own unique way of seeing the world through collaboration, through the questions other people ask of us. So I really love collaboration. And I think the way that Suzy hosts Heartleap, where she'll invite people in to teach a masterclass, like, I've been sat there, and on the Wednesdays, actually, I also had my daughter. So sometimes she'd be in and out of the room, or I'd catch up on replay. And it was like this golden ticket to possibility. It just felt so expansive and so possible. The one that we did, and it was with your agent friend, I think, is it Jax? Yeah, it was,
London Writers
I
Club.
just was like, what, wow. Like, for the first time, it wasn't like, you've got to go to university to learn this, or you'll have to go to night school, or you'll have to, it was like, no, here's an hour-long masterclass to infuse what it is that is like a tiny seed of an idea, or a tiny seed of like, oh, maybe possibly could I do this? And I
Yeah.
just had pages and pages of notes and a massive to-do list. And for me, my writing, the memoir stuff that I've been working on in your class, I am hesitating to say this, but it was like, okay, this is a 5-year project. I was like, I'm going to give myself 5 years, because otherwise, how on earth will it happen? Well, it just won't. So it was this 5-year project. And the bit that I'm hesitating on is that through doing the writing that I've done, I realized that that was the book before the book. And so many people in your sessions and in masterclasses have said the book before the book, and I've been like, no, this is my book. And then, no, it's been the book before the book. So God knows what the book is, but this that I've written is the book that is before the book. And because it's me, I've now turned it into a creative project called The Rejection Palace, which will be hosted on Substack, and will invite people to collaborate and guest post about rejection with a filter of hope at the end. So
Brilliant.
all of that's happened in the last, I'm laughing because it's just bonkers. All of that's happened in the last year because of showing up to Suzy's sessions.
But can I just say though, that's such a great name, the Rejection Palace.
I
It's so
know.
great, and what a great thing to talk about. Rejection. I mean,
Mm,
we've all been rejected.
mhm,
It's always horrendous.
mhm.
It's just genius. It's
Yeah, yeah,
brilliant.
yeah. And so when I was so into it for so long until I wasn't, and it was like, okay, for now, I've written the final chapter of that book, or that whatever it is. And then we'll have this gorgeous Substack celebration of other articles, other people that want to talk about rejection with this filter of hope within the Rejection Palace, which I'll set up. Well, I have set up as a section on Substack. So it's like, it didn't just die and disappear, or was put in a drawer. It's been on a journey, and then now it's going to have a new life, and then I'm going to see what's next in the next Heartleap sessions, what I feel called to write. So I'm so excited.
But what's interesting, isn't it, about Substack is that in a way, you don't necessarily have to write a book. You could create, your Substack as a portal to explore rejection or explore a journey that you're going on. Whereas before we may have, had to write the whole book. This you're actually creating and putting out there as you go and exploring. I mean, and that's kind of gonzo journalism, but it's so interesting. It's so interesting to read, and hopefully there's real authenticity there, and that's what's kind of exciting about Substack, because there seems, at this point, doesn't there, seems to be really authentic and real, rather than Instagram, which it's very curated and lovely,
Mhm.
lovely pictures. I like the pictures, but it's very curated, isn't it, rather than real. Whereas, I don't know, you feel like you can properly connect with people, because people, my God, they're sharing, their beautiful writing or their experiments or whatever it is, and it's really good. But you don't have to wait to write a book on it. You
Yeah.
can start your Substack on it.
You can just publish. And there is something really interesting, and I'd be interested in your process with this, Susie, with the journalistic filter, but also with giving yourself more time with the book writing. There's something about when you're called to write something, and I'll do this and I'll be like, right, I want to write about this. And in my mind, that would be scheduled for another time in the future. And then I'm like, this is for now. And I'll just end up like sending it out into the world via Substack. And there's something about, there's like a playing around with, if I didn't publish it now, then it might not go out. And then there's the other bit, which I'm honing in on this year, which is about, if I sit with something, what is the sophistication that I can bring through the editing process? Because I've never edited my work. I've just been like, I worked in festivals. It was like, you just had to get stuff done. You know, it was like, there wasn't really time for edits. Proofreading, yes, edits, no. So yeah, so there's this interesting bit where it's like, it can be really fast. And with the book publishing timeline, which is laboriously slow, we've got this in-between space where we can have that deeper connection. We're not trying to sort of do grabby headlines or grab for attention the same way we might have to on social media. There's an audience already waiting to receive our words. And it's kind of up to us how we edit and curate that experience, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And I suppose a lot of it, as I think about myself, is I unfortunately, whether it's the menopause or whatever, but I have the attention span of a gnat. So I need really short exercise. So I often write very short little because I can't even concentrate anymore. But I mean, I think horses are courses. Do you know what I mean? It's like what's great about Substack is that it's a live experiment to see what people like, what people don't like. I mean, I was talking to a journalist the other day. I can't remember who it was. She wrote an article it was for The Guardian, but it got so many likes that she wrote a book about it. So it gives you, so when you get a big response, you know that it's interesting to other people. So how great is that? So I think, again, it's like just, I mean, obviously don't, make sure the English is good, proofread it, put it through a kind of AI program just to check that that your grammar and your spelling is good. But then why not just see what the audience likes? I mean, that's what's so brilliant about it, is that you can experiment. And then hopefully, I mean, for me, a year on, I'm kind of finding what Heartleap is. I'm finding Heartleap's voice. We used to talk about the voice at psychology's voice. So now I'm finding what Heartleap's voice is. So it's like for each Substack, maybe each one has a voice. It might be a different voice. You might have a different voice for Sparkle, and you might have a different for Creatively Conscious. Different voices, but the same values, maybe.
Yeah, it's so true. Spending more time in that space, even though it's with you, it's an extension of you, it's a version of you, and definitely with Sparkle, it is like so upbeat, and it makes me laugh actually, because I have written a Substack book. I'm really excited to be able to say that out loud. I haven't really been able to say anything, but I have written a Substack book with a colleague called Russell Noelty, so you might have heard of his work. And
Yeah.
Russell's comment on me as a person is, the enthusiasm and the excitability is far too much for him, but he really likes working with me. And so it's like he reads that through my work, right? We've met quite a lot on Zoom, but he means like when a post comes through, he's like, oh, this is really exciting. But it's like, I am genuinely so excited about this platform. I'm excited about creativity. Like, there's so much to share. And I am very fueled by reader questions and my community's questions. So if somebody asks a question and then two more people ask a question about it, I'll just make a post, to be able to share that. Whereas on Creatively Conscious, it's more my weekend voice. So it's like, okay, like I'm taking stock, like I've got to go to the allotment, like the chickens need sorting, I'm hanging out with the kids. I'm thinking about really soulful creativity, like creative practice, my creative, very reflective. So it's a lot slower and it's a lot more soulful. And I still definitely do play around with the more personal pieces, whether they sit in front of or behind a paywall, and then the creative offer, because I have a business offer there as well. But I'm still in that place where I'm like, it works. It does somehow work. That blend of personal and professional, somehow on Substack, it feels like it works, and it feels like it's accepted that we can be all of ourselves on there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, isn't that interesting that you can be all of yourselves? It makes me laugh. Weekend voice. I'm not sure whether I have a weekend voice, but yeah, I mean, and also I would say that you definitely have a voice, because everything it's so you've got I just when I hear your writing voice, I just want to sort of put my head on your shoulder and go, oh, everything's going to be all right. Because you're very generous, you're very kind, and you're very reassuring, um, and and very open about things. I feel like I can completely trust you in what you're doing. And I think that's very rare these days in the online world, isn't it? It can be just think, is that really true? I don't know. But with you, because we're all starting with this from scratch, we're all kind of started from the same place. It feels so lovely to have you in charge of our Substack communities going, okay, just do this. I mean, we were doing something about the other day and I was like, oh, I'm completely cooked up. And you're like, no, just do this, and this. I'm like, oh, okay. And it's so nice to have that as you're my Obi-Wan, my Substack Obi-Wan.
It's so nice. Yeah, I just think this is how it's how we learn, isn't it? Like sometimes things don't go the way that we thought, or we try something and it doesn't get received in the way that, and clarity of language is important, but also my husband says this a lot, and I don't think I really knew what he meant until recently. Everybody's having a different reader experience of the words that you put out. So now that he said that, it's like I can't unsee it. So everybody's comments, if I do like quite a personal or vulnerable piece, none of the comments will be the same. Everybody will pull something different from that piece because they've had a different experience. They've embodied whatever they've embodied from that piece, and it's met them somewhere, and then they want to respond in that way. And sometimes that can also be on the shadow side. Sometimes people are just so confused or have like got something completely wrong, in the education space, that I've got to kind of go, okay, could I have been clearer? Like, how would I have been clearer? And next time, what would I do? So it's constantly an opportunity for learning. And you say, self-development. And for sure, I remember my friend a few years ago was like, maybe you should stop self-developing yourself. And I was like, why would you do that? Like, it's amazing. Self-development's amazing. And also education for me, and creative learning is an amazing space to spend time. And I see the other space of, yeah, like snuggling up with nonfiction or like going into memoir and stuff like that and reading that stuff. But I don't do it very often. Like where I am is self-development and creative fire, and trying to kind of kindle that in other people and finding different ways. If people are feeling flat, like how do I pick them up? If people are feeling confused, how do I add clarity? So I really love it. I really love the work so much.
Yeah, you do it so well, though. I mean, and I think it probably is that I just realized, sorry, is that combination for me of that personal development and the hard skills that you need to build a Substack. So for me, that's a winning combination, because it, as you said to me just yesterday, it's just like, this is how we learn. And like, oh, yeah, it's not about the outcome. I mean, yes, it'd be great to, do X, Y, Z and grow the Substack, and to for us all to be able to grow flourishing Substacks that support us financially as writers and as creatives. How amazing is that? But also the self-development side is, yes, it's also about learning about ourselves and learning about our shadow and learning all about how we sabotage ourselves and how we can stop all of those things. So interesting. And that to me is the point of life, rather than, you know, 10,000 subscribers or whatever it is.
And it's ours, isn't it? It belongs to us. So if we're doing a dance and feeling vulnerable, like Sunday's post was supposed to go out on Saturday, but I got a troll in notes, and I just felt really unsteady. Like I'm still learning, right? So I'm like, okay, I feel really unsteady. I don't feel safe. This troll, this mean comment, and then succeeding mean comments afterwards just made me feel unsteady and unsafe. So I just stopped the schedule. I just turned off the schedule, and I was like, maybe that post is never going to go out. And that was okay. It was like, it's all okay, because the most important thing is that I feel safe. It's mine to own. People won't mind. People didn't even know that post was coming out. So it was like giving yourself grace and time just to kind of go, how does this feel? And we've had lots of conversations in the past around the dashboard and the stats, and that kind of just digging into your eyeballs in terms of a metric of success. And I've trained myself not to look at it, or to just look at one part of it. So I'd said to you at the start of the year in our goal setting class around being really looking at like the amount of views that are possible
Yeah,
within Substack.
and
So
that's what
like, yeah.
that's exactly right. And I remember you saying 10,000 readers, and I was like,
Mm.
oh God. And now I had a look this morning, I have 15,000. And, and it's so nice. And then I don't have to look at the other stuff.
In the monthly, yeah. So
Yeah,
like that month, yeah.
yeah,
And how nice is that we're like, because subscriber numbers can just do like we do weird things with our brains because of the way that we've been trained around metrics of success or anything else we're looking at. But whereas if we're just going, oh, okay, but what would be a lovely metric to have a look at? And so reach, all of that gorgeous reach,
yeah,
putting the work out into the world.
yeah, yeah. I mean, and again, it's a, the self-development piece, isn't it? Is how do you measure success?
Mm.
And so there is how much money do you need to earn to put food on the table for your family? Yes. And how do you feel successful, which is a completely different thing. And when you just separate that out, how you value yourself and the self-development piece, it's all of a sudden you're free.
Yes,
Free
the
to
freedom. Yeah, the
talking
freedom.
about your value.
Mhm.
It's just about, I wonder if I could, people aren't interested in that bit.
Yeah,
People are interested in that. Oh, okay. It's
yeah.
nothing to do with, when it's like, oh my God, I've got no followers, or I've got, it's got not, it's
Or
about,
shouting into the abyss or something. Yeah, it's a bit strange. Yeah. The bit that's really interesting, and I think you'll be really interested in this, Suzy, is the whole reason that I started this podcast at the start of launching Sparkle on Substack was because behind the scenes, people were listening to my 11-minute voice notes and not many people were commenting, but there was loads and loads and loads of downloads. And I was like, isn't this interesting? So the dog's barking in the background. So the human behavior was to listen but not comment. So I would have been thinking, oh, I can't do another one. Nobody's listening. Nobody's bothered. Nobody's got 11 minutes. But actually, what was going on is they were getting thousands of downloads. So when I checked the statistics, I felt super confident to launch Sparkle with a podcast and just thought, well, I'll learn as I go. It's fine. And now this podcast has hit 20,000 downloads. It just blows my mind. Nobody really comments. Like some people do comment, but it's not like a really sort of, on fire post or whatever. I'm like, the podcast is a whole different medium. So sometimes even with posts, people are just absorbing, feeling, thinking, and don't feel compelled to comment, or they read in the middle of the night and they don't want to be seen to be online at that time or whatever else. Loads is going on that we might not necessarily know about. So that I think is really interesting.
yeah. Well, I mean, the whole podcast thing I haven't done yet, but I intend to.
Watch this space.
Yes, you're ahead of me, but it's so interesting to hear that, and how, again, it's how people interact with your content, isn't it?
Yeah, because people can listen on a dog walk, they can listen in the car. Like people will be like, they'll discover it and then they'll listen to like 6 episodes back to back, and just try and like learn as if they're really, if they learn in that audible way. So yeah, there's so much interesting stuff to play around with. And the podcasting process can be faster than the writing and editing process, depending on who you are in the world. So it's an interesting one. It's definitely worth playing around with. But the 11-minute voice notes that I did, it was just like, well, let's just sit down and talk for 11 minutes. Then I'll see if I like it or not. I'll just try. I'll do it every month and then we'll see. So yeah, there's so much in that just to kind of give yourself permission where it doesn't have to be, you don't have to go and podcast in a professional podcast studio and pay somebody to do all the edits with a jingle and like, beat yourself up about the intro and all that. You can literally just turn up and press publish, just record and go, see what happens.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's exciting. To circle back to the book that you're writing, because you've been working on this book a little while now, and I know it's gone through its own evolution. There's been something magical that happened through the writing process, and it changed from, if I understand you correctly, it changed from potentially being a memoir to something else. Do you want to tell us about that?
Yeah, so it was from the writing group, one of our writing group, Juliet Thomas, who'd also got a book deal. She had a thing called Bite the Book, which was an audience with some agents, and she couldn't do it. So she said, "Do you want the play?" I said, "Yes, okay, I will." So you get kind of feedback from agents, and everyone said, "This is great, but you need to turn it into a novel. That it's not high stakes." And I was like, "What?" But then it's great. I mean, it's fantastic. So now I'm kind of completely liberated to completely change it. So I'm just writing the next version of that. And again, it's like really kind of challenging when you've spent, and I just finished the draft, I was about the 8th draft of the memoir, and someone said it's, great writing, da da da, really positive. It was great, but it needs to be a novel because this is how we'll sell it. It's commercial women's fiction. It's not a memoir. So I was like, okay. And either you trust the professionals with that or not. And so, I will, because it's about my son and I on a canal boat during lockdown, which is what happened. He got into this weird and wonderful film school in London in the sixth form. We couldn't afford to move back to London, so I bought a canal boat. So it's a story of us on this canal boat. So I've written it. So I'm just going to self-publish that for him and turn. So he's got like, that's what the book was called, Dear Charlie, which is my son's name. He's just, can I just say, proud mommy moment. He has just qualified with a degree and he got a first. So it was worth every second of that.
Wow, that's amazing. It's
I know.
incredible to get a first.
I know.
Wow.
I'm so proud of him. He's just made this amazing award-winning film as well. So all about
Wow.
eco. So
Can you share it on your Substack? Are you allowed to share it, or is he going
not
to do
quite
his
sure
own,
we
or
can,
not quite sure? Okay.
clearly, but
Yeah.
I don't want to steal his thunder.
No,
But
I'd love to see it. I'd love to see it. So tell him I'd love to see it. Maybe he'll just send
tell
it
him,
to me
I'll
so I can watch
tell
it.
him.
Yeah.
But in terms of my creative process, but then I feel so excited because it feels like this is a whole new kind of ball game, writing a novel, whole new skill set. And basically I got the feedback that I need is like, you can definitely write, you're really good at it, but you just need to learn your craft of writing a novel. And I have been doing that in the background. I have been, with all the masterclasses we've been having, I've got so much of that information. So I feel, rather than being discouraged, I actually felt more excited than I felt for a long time, because I'm like, God, does this mean I can actually write a proper story, like a fiction story? So
Like you say, it's very liberating, isn't it? Because fiction's fiction. You could go anywhere, you can do anything.
yeah,
I
and
mean, it needs
also,
to make sense, doesn't it? But it's like,
yeah,
yeah, it's
and
like, where do you want to take yourself? That's
yeah,
a bit about escapist writing, I suppose, in lots of
yeah.
ways.
Yeah, and just also, I mean, that my work's always been about stories, about
Mm,
creating stories. So obviously with journalism, it's real stories, and a memoir is real stories. So this is a massive big leap for me. It's a
mhm,
leap to make a story up completely
mhm.
and make it satisfying and make it real.
Yeah.
Um, so I am so excited about that. It's gonna, it's probably gonna be the end of the year before that's finished, but I can do it. It's good.
But
I'm
still,
excited about
so
it.
this year, yeah, so you've given yourself a bit of a deadline, like work on
Yeah,
it until, yeah, amazing.
that's
Yeah.
it's by the end of July. I'm writing 1,000 words a day at the moment.
Okay, wow.
Yeah, and then next draft done by the end of August, and then
Yeah.
leave it for a bit, and then rewrite it again.
Dedication.
It's hard work. Well,
Yeah.
so you say dedication, but we do at Hartley, we do the 2 writing hours a week, Tuesday
Hmm.
and Thursday, and it's amazing what you can do. You can get 1,000 words done.
Yeah. In that hour. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
what it's taught me is you don't have to sit there all day. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I can do 5 hours a week, which is what I
Hmm.
do. And there's 5,000 words written. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah, it's
a month,
done.
you can have
Mm.
your novel written.
And then, so the first iteration of the book, Dear Charlie, you're just literally going to publish it as a gift for your son, or might it be out for other people to read? What are your thoughts?
I don't know. I'll see.
See how you
Because
feel.
I only had that thought the other day, and I just thought, I've got all of it. It's a beautiful
Mm,
beautiful book for him.
hmm,
And
hmm.
it's great that he could have that for him and his
Mm.
grandchildren, whatever. And maybe I will self-publish it for anyone
Yeah,
else to read.
yeah.
I just have to think about that. But yeah, of
It's
course.
there as an option, isn't it? It does excite me as well, because I feel like with the book proposal process and with people writing books and with memoir being like a tough topic and stuff now for like sales and all the rest of it, it gives people just some space to think about things in a different way. I had Lindsay Johnston on the podcast a little while ago, and Lindsay's been serializing her memoir, but with
Yes.
audio. So
Yeah.
it's brilliant. It's absolutely fantastic. And I don't actually know what's going to happen with the memoir. It's been out on submission for quite a while, so I'm not really sure, but it's been brilliant. Like, it's been brilliant. And she's got the highest conversion of free to paid Substack subscribers that I've ever seen. 14%.
Wow.
It's really high. But it's because of audio as a medium. She's an amazing writer. Audio as a medium, and we're gripped. You know, we want to know what's happening next in the memoir. So I've been really compelled to tell more stories like that, because traditional publishing is traditional publishing and it's amazing, but there are so many other ways. If you see writing as a creative project and you question, well, what do I want to do with it? So as my first published book was a journal for mums
Yeah,
because I wanted to,
we've got it in the bookshop
literally.
though.
Yeah,
So
it's in the
actually,
bookshop. Yeah, yeah,
it's there to be sold as well.
yeah, yeah.
Because you self-publish doesn't mean it can't go. I mean, one of the booksellers from the bookshop, has also self-published, and she wrote an amazing piece for the bookseller the other day about how to promote. So I'm going to get her on Heartleap to talk
Oh,
about
good.
how to
Yeah.
get into and how to sell your book. And there's a great local author from Sea Houses who's self-published, and at the moment that's outselling some of the books from the traditional authors about salt.
Yeah. Okay.
So amazing. So I mean, I do think, and then one of the guys who works with me at the bookshop, he is writing all online stuff, like more thriller stuff, but he's making a really good income from it. So I mean, it depends what you're doing it for, and what you want and But and then obviously Louise Ross, LJ Ross, is one of our most prolific, writers in the Northeast. She writes crime thrillers, and she's sold more books than Harry Potter online. I mean, it's incredible, and she's so successful, and she started her own publishing company, Dark Skies Publishing. She is so inspirational and amazing. So
it's like these creative stepping stones, isn't it? Like, and so this is what we've said in this chat, that podcasters, the Substack is enabled with us. That's like, we're going to do this, and then we're going to see, we're going to just keep doing that, and then we're going to go over here, and it's just such an invitation, such an opportunity. I think more so now post pandemic, and because we can live and work globally, we've got a real opportunity to just throw away the rule books that we've had in the past and really ask ourselves that Heartleap question. What is it that you want to do? What is it that's going to bring you joy in your life? What is it that you want to build a business around? Like, yeah, I know I make everything sound quite fairy tale, and it's not always, but it can be.
yeah, I mean, I think it's about, I think your phrase of consciously creating, I think that it is possible. It is, and you've got to have the vision first, and you've got to have, this is what you've got to, I was listening to an Oprah thing the other day, Who's My Hero, and she was talking about, why people are successful, because they know what they want. And I suppose the first thing is, what do you want to create? Do you know what I mean? And it's so, and people say, oh, I want to have, sell thousands of copies and be rich. And you're like, yeah, but why though? Why? What is it that will buy you? And when you get really clear, it's like, for me, I just want really simple, like, my mind, I'm sure I shouldn't say it to you, but I'm sure I am a little bit neurodiverse. But because I'm all over the place, 10 things on at once, but that's how I work. So I need to keep my life really, really simple. Otherwise I go a bit crackers. And what do you want to create with your life? Do you know what I mean? How do you want this to look? And once you've answered that question, and then the second question is, what values underpin that want? And once you get clear on that, the rest is fairly simple. And so you say about fairy tale, it's not fairy tale. I think it's, why not? Why can't we create a life that we actually want? And then it's just a bit of hard graft, but at least you're grafting for something that you actually want, versus, I mean, we know everyone, I mean, God, we've all worked for companies that just literally suck your soul.
Yeah.
And you're working so bloody hard for them. So why not work for yourself? And that's what Substack gives us, that opportunity.
Yeah.
And it's not that hard work. I mean, it's a joy, isn't it, to hang out? I mean, I have to stop myself. I have to literally go, you're not going to do that anymore now, because I'm enjoying it so much. I love hanging out in this world.
Yeah, like I definitely have a separation of time between my, like, the way that I plug into communities, which feels like education and inspiration, and then my time as a reader, and then my time as a creator and a space holder. So they're all like separate blocks of time within my week.
I heard you say that the other day.
Yeah,
and I thought, that's brilliant.
Yeah, because otherwise it gets quite
mess.
but yeah, and well, because it gets quite blurry, doesn't it? And the notifications would like to pull us into different things. So I think that it really helps me to just be in that space and know what I need, because sometimes I need to turn up the dial and have more of one thing and less of another, you know. And I definitely felt that after my holiday. We were abroad in end of March, early April. And when I came back, I was like, this is so noisy. Like, this is too much. This is too, we did a digital detox, which is why, because obviously then, you know, it's like, wow, what? Like, what is all of this? So a week with no screens, and then you go back on, you're like, why is everyone shouting at me? And of course they're not. It's just that you know, everything is just kind of needs to recalibrate. So I just recurated what I was doing and came to it in a different way. And then I just think we've got that opportunity all the time, haven't we? We've got that opportunity to do things differently seasonally. We've got that opportunity to, you know, if we're not feeling in flow, like, okay, what do I need? Like, work in the bookshop, go for a beach walk, whatever it is. There's so much, isn't there? There's so many different ways we can design our days.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose that, it's being able, for most of us, it is about creating income, isn't it? A
Mm-hmm,
way that suits our talents and our skills.
mm-hmm,
And
hmm.
what Substack has enabled us to do is to do that,
Yeah, yeah.
which that is very, very exciting, because a lot of creatives have not been able to. I mean, a lot of the illustrators that I see doing so well on, I mean, I can't draw and I can't paint, but it's something I'm exploring just for myself, nothing for
Mm,
anybody else with me. But I'm on all of these sort of draw a thing a day, and
mm-hmm.
they're doing. I can see them doing really, really well. So all of those illustrators who perhaps wouldn't have, you know, made so much, or writers haven't made so much, they're making money from Substack. It's
Yeah. It's
amazing.
flowing in, isn't it? And we then get to kind of pick and choose and, like, yeah, lean into different ways of experiencing our working week. I love the draw a thing a day. I would, it would be really good for my perfectionism if I did that, because I'm terrible at drawing.
Yeah.
Now I could
And yeah.
potentially get technically better, but probably not. Like, when I watch my son draw, he's really good. My husband is also very good technically. It's just not my thing. Like, I like to make a big mess creatively. Like, that's my thing. Or I can make books. I do like to make books. So yeah, it's like, if I went into there, it's like, what's that going to teach me? You know, there's just all this gorgeous stuff happening all the time, isn't there? So yeah,
Yeah.
and your new Substack, if we've got the link ready by the time the podcast goes out, obviously I'll share it. But you're just in the early stages of going, okay, what could this look like? I'm going to, you know, hold this space with a colleague, with a friend. We're going to co-author the Substack. It's going to be different, but it's going to be, I guess, more like self-development magazine-y vibes. Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, I suppose for me, it's about finding a space where you can go to, when you feel low. I mean, I've just gone through the
Mm,
menopause and low mood, all of that nonsense. And it's like, where can you go when you need a little uplift? Book, tools, all of those things. And with the kind of psychologies. So the magazine I worked for called Psychologies was beautiful. It was an amazing, inspiring, heartfelt magazine with an amazing team behind it. So I loved my work there, and I loved my work family. So the thought of being able to recreate that in a slightly different form on Substack just fills me with total joy. So yeah, but I think again, it's for that kind of, the idea of, when you feel a little bit hopeless and you think, oh my, so many people at psychologies came to psychologies when something, they'd had a big life shock. They'd been ill, or they got divorced, or they'd been in debt, or something kind of really challenging had happened. And I think for me, it's like, where do you go when that happens, to have a kind of a steadying hand? So I think for me, I love having that kind of portal, and I'd always be inspired to create that portal of, not for me. There's like I am a coach, but there's so many brilliant voices and brilliant ways in to be able to feel better, and that's what I want to create. So
I
yeah.
love that. It sounds very uplifting, and I can't wait to see it be brought to life. It'll be so beautiful. Thank you so much, Suzy.
Well,
If
thank you. Can I just say thank you, Claire? Because I wouldn't have done any of this without you. And you're so generous, and you're so dynamic, and you give me so much practical help that, I mean, you really have, in a really very real way, have transformed my life. So thank
Oh,
you.
oh, that is so kind. That is so lovely. And I'm so glad. I felt like, you know, the day and Suzy and I met was like one of those energetically vibrating days where you're like, this was big. This was big news. I remember like telling my husband, I was like, I just met somebody and I feel like big things are going to happen, and big things are already happening, and loads of stuff just feels very real all of a sudden. And I think sometimes it's that thing that a friend or a colleague can reflect back at you, you know, like in terms of, I see you, you know, so I see you and how brilliant you are, and plugging all of that in. And I'm like, just all those little nudges in the beginning. And then you're saying to me, like, this is great. People need this. And sometimes, you know, especially when I first started, that self-doubt of like, well, I haven't really been teaching about, you know, the internet before and how tech companies work and all that sort of stuff. So I do deeply appreciate it. If you want to find Suzy's Substack, at the moment it's Heartleap, and there's about to be another one as well. And then I think Suzy does a little bit with social media, but do you want to share what your social media is, or would you just
It's,
prefer
yeah, yeah. So
people?
mostly Instagram. So
Yeah.
I love Instagram.
Oh, you do? Okay.
No, I do. I could spend hours on there doing reels. But it's I shouldn't admit that. I am Suzy Walker is my Instagram. But yeah, I mean, I'm just mostly pitching beautiful pictures of Northumberland on there. Going, it's really cool up here. Come and
No, it
visit
is.
Northumberland.
Yeah, yeah. And soon to be, hopefully, we're going to have a little doggy date because I need a friend for my new puppy that we're getting. So hopefully Suzy and I'll meet up and you can see our little puppy date on Instagram.
You know what you're getting yet?
Yeah, so we've got a whippet coming.
Oh,
Little Stella, yeah. So she's coming to us on the 3rd of July. We're so excited. The kids are so excited. Obviously, it's bonkers. It's gonna be bonkers, but I'm so up for it. Like we're ready for this lifestyle change, and we're ready to just be out on those beaches way more than we have been. So yeah, watch this space
it
for
will
that.
change life only in a good way. Look, here's Bertie. Look,
Here he is, look. He's
here he
just
is.
say a little hello. I love Bertie
Love
so much.
Bert.
Look at him, he's lush. Okay, well, thanks again, Suzy. I shall see you really soon.
All right, lots of love,
Take care.
darling. Bye.
Bye.